Have you ever wondered what happens when the roles reverse and the person in power becomes vulnerable? If you're intrigued by unexpected love stories that challenge conventions, hit that like button and subscribe to continue your journey through stories that touch the heart and soul. The rain pounded against the glass walls of Everett Industries' top floor, matching the thundering in Maya Chen's chest. She stared at her boss, her impossibly composed, infuriatingly brilliant boss, now standing before her with his walls completely down, rainwater dripping from his dark hair onto the expensive carpet of his office. Alexander Everett, CEO and single father of two, had just uttered words she never thought she'd hear from him. Her mind raced backward to how they'd arrived at this unbelievable moment. 6 months earlier, Maya had walked into Everett Industries with nothing but determination and a recently completed MBA. At 32, she was older than most entry-level applicants, but career changes were becoming her specialty. Former dancer, former teacher, former too many things, she had reinvented herself more times than she cared to admit. This job as executive assistant to the CEO was supposed to be a stepping stone, nothing more. Ms. Chen, Mr. Everett will see you now, the receptionist had said on her first day, gesturing toward double oak doors that seemed to stretch toward the ceiling. The man behind the desk barely looked up when she entered. Alexander Everett, 38, with sharp features that rarely softened and eyes the color of stormy skies. His reputation preceded him, brilliant businessman, demanding boss, and fiercely private since the death of his wife 3 years ago. You've worked 5 different jobs in the past 10 years, he stated without preamble, her resume pinched between his fingers like something distasteful. Why should I believe you'll last here? Maya squared her shoulders. Because I've never failed at any of those jobs, Mr. Everett. I left because I outgrew them. And I promise you, Everett Industries is big enough that it'll take me a very long time to outgrow it. Something flickered in his eyes, surprise, perhaps, before he nodded once. You start tomorrow. 7 sharp. Those first weeks had been grueling. Alexander kept impossible hours, expected immediate responses to emails sent at 3 in the morning, and offered criticism far more readily than praise. But Maya thrived under pressure. She remembered details he forgot, anticipated problems before they arose, and slowly, so slowly she barely noticed, became indispensable. The first crack in his professional veneer appeared 2 months in, when his daughter's school called during a crucial board meeting. Emma, age 8, had fallen during recess and needed stitches. Maya watched as panic washed over his usually controlled face. Go, she said, already gathering his coat. I'll handle the board. You can't possibly. Mr. Everett, your daughter needs you. The board needs reassurance about the Wilson merger. I've been preparing those materials for weeks. I can handle 20 minutes of questions. When he returned 5 hours later, the meeting had been salvaged and a preliminary agreement reached. He found Maya at her desk, typing furiously despite the late hour. Emma, she asked without looking up. 6 stitches. Brave as a lion. He hesitated, awkwardness replacing his usual confidence. The board was impressed. Maya finally met his gaze. Good. You went off script on the financial projections. Your projections were too conservative. The board needed to see the potential upside to counterbalance their fears. She expected anger. Instead, he asked, when did you have time to recalculate? Last weekend. The numbers didn't sit right with me. He studied her with new eyes. You spent your weekend double-checking my work? I spent my weekend doing my job. Which includes making sure you have the best information possible. From that day, something shifted. Alexander began asking for her opinions, including her in strategy meetings, trusting her with increasingly sensitive matters. Maya told herself the warm satisfaction she felt was professional pride, nothing more. Then came the day she met his children properly. A childcare emergency had left him without options, and his son and daughter spent the afternoon in a conference room Maya had hurriedly outfitted with coloring books and snacks. 6-year-old Noah was the image of his father, serious and watchful. Emma was a whirlwind of energy and questions. When Maya checked on them between calls, she found Noah struggling with a math worksheet. "Want some help?" she offered, sitting beside him. "Dad says I should figure it out myself," he said, but his trembling lip betrayed his frustration. "Your dad is very smart," Maya replied carefully, "but sometimes smart people forget what it's like to learn something new. Let me show you a trick my teacher taught me." By the time Alexander arrived, harried and apologetic, Noah was explaining the math concept to his sister with newfound confidence. "They behaved?" Alexander asked with surprise as they walked toward the elevator, children racing ahead. "They're wonderful kids. You should be proud." He glanced at her, something vulnerable crossing his face. "Their mother was the one who knew how to. I'm still figuring it out." "You're doing better than you think," Maya said softly, surprising herself with the impulse to touch his arm reassuringly. She kept her hands firmly at her sides. After that, Alexander's personal life began seeping into their professional relationship. She learned that Emma had dance recitals on Thursdays, that Noah was obsessed with astronomy, that Alexander sometimes fell asleep reviewing contracts on his couch because he couldn't bear the emptiness of his bedroom. "Why don't you date?" she asked once, emboldened by a late night and too much coffee as they prepared for an international acquisition. The question hung between them, inappropriate and impossible to retract. "I apologize, Mr. Everett." That was out of line. He was silent so long she thought he might fire her. Then, "Alexander. After 10-hour days, I think you've earned the right to use my first name." Another pause. "And to answer your question, I've tried. It doesn't work." "The women or the dating?" A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Both. I'm told I'm intimidating. Emotionally unavailable. And there's the children to consider. They've lost enough." "I can see that," she replied honestly. "You are intimidating. But the right person wouldn't be intimidated." He looked at her then, really looked at her, and Maya felt heat rise to her face. "No," he said quietly. "I suppose they wouldn't." Weeks passed, and Maya became a fixture not just in Alexander's professional life but in his personal one as well. She helped Emma with her science project, taught Noah shortcuts for his multiplication tables, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, found herself caring for this makeshift family in ways that exceeded her job description. Alexander changed too. He smiled more. Stayed for dinner with his children instead of returning to the office. Asked Maya's opinion on matters unrelated to business. The night everything changed began ordinarily enough. They were the last ones in the office, reviewing a problematic contract that needed resolution before morning. Rain lashed against the windows as thunder rumbled overhead. "This clause is deliberately misleading," Maya said, frustration evident. "They're trying to trap us into a 5-year commitment when we agreed on 3. Alexander rubbed his temples. "Jenkins won't budge. He knows we need this deal." "Then we walk away," Maya insisted. "There are other suppliers. None that can deliver on our timeline. So we adjust the timeline." "Alexander, this is a bad deal. Your father would never have accepted these terms." The mention of his father, the company's founder, whose legendary business acumen cast a long shadow, made Alexander stiffen. "You never met my father." "No, but I've read every deal he ever made. This isn't worthy of the company he built, or the one you're running." They stared at each other across his desk, tension crackling between them. Then Alexander did something unprecedented. He laughed, the sound rusty as if from disuse. "What would I do without you, Maya?" The question lingered, heavy with implications neither was prepared to address. Maya looked away first. You'd probably be signing that terrible contract, she said lightly, gathering papers. I should go. It's late. Stay, he said suddenly. Then, more composed, it's pouring. Let me call you a car. As he reached for his phone, Maya's own chimed with a message. The color drained from her face as she read it. What is it? Alexander asked, immediately alert. Nothing. Just, my ex. He's in town and wants to meet. She shook her head. I should have changed my number. Alexander studied her. Bad breakup? Maya laughed humorlessly. You could say that. Jason has impeccable timing. Always shows up when I'm finally getting my life together. And you don't want to see him. God, no. But he's persistent. It's easier to meet him once, let him say whatever he came to say, then send him on his way. Alexander frowned. You don't owe him anything, Maya. I know that intellectually. Emotionally. She shrugged. 12 years is a long time to love someone, even when they don't deserve it. Something shifted in Alexander's expression. 12 years? Maya nodded, suddenly embarrassed. High school sweethearts. We broke up 3 years ago when I found out he'd been cheating most of that time. And now he wants to meet. Apparently he's changed, she said with air quotes. He always says that. Then nothing is different. Alexander was quiet for a moment. Then, have dinner with me and the kids tomorrow night. Maya blinked at the abrupt change of subject. What? Tell your ex you have plans. Have dinner with us instead. Emma's been asking when you'll come over again, and Noah wants to show you his new telescope. Alexander, that's not necessary. It's just dinner, Maya. His voice was carefully neutral. As a thank you for all the late nights. Nothing more. But it wasn't nothing, and they both knew it. It was a crossing of boundaries, an acknowledgement of whatever had been growing between them these past months. Okay, she said finally. Just dinner. That dinner changed everything. Maya arrived at Alexander's penthouse apartment to find Emma waiting eagerly by the door, Noah hovering shyly behind her. The apartment was warm and filled with delicious smells. Alexander, she discovered, was an excellent cook. They ate pasta and garlic bread, followed by ice cream sundaes that the children constructed with architectural precision. Later, when the children were occupied with a movie, Alexander led Maya to the balcony overlooking the city. Stars glittered above them, the storm from the previous night having cleared the air. Thank you for tonight, Maya said, leaning against the railing. This was exactly what I needed. Did he message you again? Alexander asked, standing close enough that she could feel the warmth of him. Several times. I told him I was having dinner with friends. Alexander's eyes found hers. Is that what we are, Maya? Friends? The question hung between them, dangerous and exhilarating. I work for you, Alexander. Is that all? Maya looked away, heart pounding. You know it isn't. But that doesn't change the reality. Which is? That I'm your employee. That there are professional boundaries. That your children need stability, not complications. My children adore you, he said quietly. And as for complications. He stepped closer. Maya, I haven't felt this way since. Please don't, she whispered. Don't say something we can't take back. He respected her wishes, retreating both physically and emotionally. The evening ended cordially, professionally, as if the moment on the balcony had never happened. The following weeks were an exercise in restraint. They worked together seamlessly, their professional rapport stronger than ever, while carefully avoiding any hint of personal connection. Maya declined subsequent dinner invitations, citing work commitments or plans with friends. Alexander maintained a polite distance. Until today, when everything imploded. It began with a job offer. Maya had been headhunted by Everett Industries' main competitor, offered a position with more responsibility and significantly more money than her current role. She hadn't been looking, hadn't even considered leaving, but the opportunity was too substantial to dismiss outright. Protocol demanded she inform her boss. So Maya scheduled a meeting, prepared her talking points, and tried to ignore the heaviness in her chest at the thought of leaving. Alexander listened to her explanation with a carefully blank expression. When she finished, he asked only, "Is this what you want?" "It's an incredible opportunity," she answered, avoiding the actual question. "That's not what I asked." Maya met his gaze. "I don't know what I want." He nodded once, professional mask firmly in place. "Take the rest of the day to think about it. We'll discuss terms tomorrow, either for your continued employment here or for your transition out." The dismissal stung more than she expected. Maya returned to her desk, feeling oddly hollow as she gathered her things to leave. She had almost reached the elevator when Alexander's assistant called after her. "Ms. Chen. Mr. Everett asked me to give you this before you left." The envelope contained a single sheet of paper, not company letterhead, but personal stationery. The handwriting was Alexander's, strong and decisive like everything about him. "Maya," it read, "before you decide, meet me at Riverside Park, 5 p.m. There are things that need to be said outside these walls." Maya's hands trembled as she folded the note. This was exactly the kind of complication she'd been avoiding. The sensible choice was to ignore the request, to keep their interaction strictly professional. Yet at precisely 4:55, she found herself entering the park, following the path toward the river where they had once walked during a lunch break months ago. Alexander was already there, gazing out at the water. He'd changed from his business suit to jeans and a simple button-down shirt, making him look younger, less formidable. When he turned at her approach, the vulnerable expression on his face nearly stopped her heart. "You came," he said, relief evident in his voice. "Your note was intriguing," Maya replied, aiming for lightness. "And possibly inappropriate for the company email system." The attempt at humor fell flat. Alexander stepped closer, rain beginning to fall softly around them. "I had a whole speech prepared," he said, "about professional development and how valuable you are to the company." "That sounds very appropriate." It was a lie, he admitted. "Or rather, true but incomplete. You are invaluable to the company, Maya. But you're also invaluable to me. To my children. To our lives." Maya felt breathless. "Alexander. Please, let me finish. I've respected your boundaries. I've tried to be the boss you deserve and nothing more. But if you're considering leaving because of what's happening, or not happening, between us, then I need to be honest." The rain intensified, but neither moved to seek shelter. "I love you," he said simply. "I didn't mean to. I didn't want to. God knows I tried not to. But there it is." Maya stood frozen, raindrops mingling with the tears she couldn't hold back. "Say something," he pleaded. "This can't work," she whispered. "I've worked so hard to build my career, to be taken seriously. If I stay and people will say I slept my way to success." "Then take the other job," he said immediately. "Remove the professional conflict. But please don't walk away from us completely." Maya shook her head. "And your children? They've already lost one mother figure. What happens if we try and fail? They get abandoned again?" "They love you already," Alexander said, moving closer. "And I trust you not to hurt them, whatever happens between us. But Maya, what if we don't fail?" The rain was coming down in sheets now, soaking them both. Alexander looked at her with such naked hope that Maya felt her carefully constructed walls beginning to crumble. "I'm terrified," she admitted. "So am I," he said with a broken laugh. "I haven't done this in a very long time. But I know that watching you walk away would be worse than any risk. They stood there in the pouring rain, at the precipice of a decision that would change everything. And then Alexander whispered the words that would forever mark the moment their lives transformed. "Boss, I don't want anyone else. I want you. Will you go out with me?" The single dad boss pleaded, reversing their roles with a vulnerability that stripped away the last of Maya's resistance. Maya stared at him, this powerful man now completely at her mercy, and finally surrendered to the truth she'd been fighting for months. She stepped forward, eliminating the distance between them, and placed her hands on either side of his face. "Yes," she whispered against his lips. "Yes, I'll go out with you." Their first kiss tasted of rain and possibility, of fears conquered and boundaries crossed. When they finally broke apart, breathless and laughing at their drenched state, Alexander pressed his forehead to hers. "So about that job offer?" he murmured. Maya smiled. "I think I need to decline. I've just accepted an even more challenging position." "Oh? It involves helping a single father navigate a new relationship while maintaining appropriate boundaries at work and ensuring 2 children understand that I'm not trying to replace anyone." Alexander's smile was radiant, even through the rain. "Sounds demanding. Are you sure you're qualified?" Maya kissed him again, heart full of a joy she had nearly denied herself. "I guess we'll find out together." They walked hand in hand through the downpour toward Alexander's car, toward a future neither had anticipated but both now embraced with cautious hope. Their journey together wouldn't be easy. There would be workplace gossip to navigate, children's insecurities to address, past wounds to heal. Maya would eventually accept a lateral move to another department to minimize conflicts of interest. Alexander would learn to balance his protective instincts with respect for Maya's independence. There would be fights about work coming home, about Noah's resistance to the change, about the ghost of Alexander's late wife that sometimes seemed to hover between them. There would be Emma's tearful confession that she was afraid to love Maya because, what if you leave too? There would be Jason's reappearance, causing old insecurities to flare. But there would also be Sunday mornings with pancakes and bedhead, impromptu dance parties in the kitchen, and quiet moments on the balcony when the children were asleep. There would be the first time Noah came to Maya instead of his father with a school problem, and the day Emma asked if she could call Maya, Mom Maya, because, "You're not my mom, but you're mom-like and I love you." There would be the night, 1 year later, when Alexander proposed properly, with the children as eager accomplices. And Maya, looking at the family she'd never expected to find, would say yes without hesitation. Sometimes the greatest risks yield the greatest rewards. Sometimes the most unexpected relationships prove the most enduring. And sometimes, just sometimes, breaking the rules, carefully, thoughtfully, with full awareness of the consequences, is exactly what leads us to where we're meant to be. As Maya and Alexander left the park that rainy evening, neither knew exactly what the future held. But they were willing to find out, together. And in the end, isn't that what love is all about? Not certainty, but the courage to step into the unknown, hand in hand with someone who makes the journey worthwhile. If this story touched your heart, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more emotional journeys that remind us all of the courage it takes to embrace love, even when it arrives in the most unexpected packages.